Hey guys, welcome back to my channel TechFit. This is Garv, and today we are going to talk about something interesting, which is how to build your CV in 2021. So if you're applying for a new job, or if you are kind of working towards your CV and how to really update everything in your CV, it might be good to watch this video. It might give you some tips and tricks, and it's just, again, it's me, which is like a guy on YouTube talking about my own CV. It's not really, I'm trying to portray something that this is the standard way of working on a CV, but this is something that I see working for myself. So if I'm applying for jobs that I'm getting a callbacks, and this is what is working for me, so I'm just kind of talking about that. Now again, to be honest, you do have to take that into consideration, that no CV can land you a job. Simple as that. It's the only thing that can land you a job is you. So forget about that CV is going to land you a job, but it's more about CV will get you in. That's the main thing, that once you send your CV, people do look at and judge people by their CV. So they're like, okay, maybe this person would be really related to the job, so let's call him. But again, it doesn't mean you got a job. So it's more, you have to understand that it is more just that, yeah, it will get you in if your CV looks really appealing and really good. So in this example, I'm actually going to use my own CV that I've used so far. So if you look at the breakdown itself, so I think it's only 3 key tips that I want to give, which is, like the whole video is just going to talk about these 3 tips. One, which is going to be the structure of your CV. So I'm going to show you the structure of my CV. How do I actually put all the things together? Now, first of all, starting with, you have your personal profile. So again, which kind of talks about, okay, what is your experience, and talking about yourself for a few lines. Now you do have this image. You don't really need an image to be sure, because the image, I think I've just put it there because I thought I had a lot of blank space, so I can maybe put this. But if you don't really have a blank space in your CV, don't bother putting your picture. But I do have a space there to have there. And then you have your contact details, which is again straightforward. You should mention your site, you should mention your different things that you think would be good for people to go on these locations and read about you. Because again, the people who are interviewing you, the recruitment manager, who is basically going to interview the next day, he wants to see what exactly you know before you actually came for the session even. And what you want to do is you want to give them more and more information. They said they know what type of projects you've worked on and what things you have done. So that's one thing. So you have all your contact information, not your date of birth and stuff like that. It's more just your location you are working in, your email, and then your site if you have one, LinkedIn, and your phone number. And I do have mentioned my YouTube channel as well because I'm a content creator. And then you do have these areas. And then what I have next is, which is the keywords. You should really get to use these keywords. That's my second tip. Using keywords, because keywords is something that will really save the space for you to actually write about your experience more than writing about what do you know. So it's more like that you can actually mention your keywords, that the things that you've worked on, which you can actually mention, okay, so what type of languages you know in software engineering and coding. So in coding, what type of languages you know, and you can talk about what type of technical skills you have. Now, as you can see, within these skills, I'm only talking about the keywords that I know this, which again makes your CV look a lot cleaner. And then when you're talking about your experience, and you're kind of talking about your experience here, which is more about talking what type of projects you have worked on. And I can't really emphasize this more. You do really have to talk about every project you're working on, because you never know, any small project that you've worked on would be something that will get your recruitment manager to think, oh, this could be the right person for the job because he has work on these kind of problems. So even if those projects are not related to your work, even if those projects are your personal projects, or you're demonstrating those personal projects for something else, I would definitely recommend to write them down here. You can just say, this is my research project. I haven't done that in work, but I have done that separately, and so you can mention it here, because that's what they're all looking for, that what type of projects you have worked on. So that's one thing. Now, the first key tip was the structure. So we are looking at the structure itself, which is again looking at your personal, your contact details, your keywords, your experience. And then going down to your words, you have your more key skills, and if you have any optional skills, your recommendation. Do write about your own objective as well that you have here, which is again, objective itself is like, where do you, either you can mention something like, which I've seen a lot of time is being asked to me on interview, which is, where do you see yourself in the next 5 years? Or why do you want to work for this company? So you can always link back to your objective, like that you want to be working for a company who is such. So it's something like that. So you can actually mention that objective, which again gives a clear understanding to the recruitment manager that why you want to work for them. And then the next thing is you can mention your education. Now this is kind of like the structure I follow, and I do see it working for myself. And I do see that if I put these kind of key tags rather than actually putting the tag, or rather than actually talking about these languages or these technical skills that I worked on in my experience, it kind of takes up a lot of the pages and it takes up a lot of my space to really write about what projects I've worked on. And that's my personal opinion. And the third, which is my main tip I would also give, is every time you do a project, do talk about the outcome of that project. I mean, I can't really emphasize more on this because every interview I have went for, people have commented back on my outcome rather than the project I worked on, because that's what they're interested in. People are interested in what output you have received or what outcome you have achieved through running this project, what outcome you have achieved, or what is the value add you have given to the company. And it's rather than you telling them, it would be good, and it's kind of for your knowledge as well. So when you're talking about something, your CV is right in front of you, and maybe at that stage when you're telling them, you might forget to tell them a couple of more things. But if you have all that information written down on your CV, so as you can see, every project I've worked on, if there was a substantial outcome out of that project, which again, usually every project should have some sort of outcome, because or else why are you working on that project? And or if obviously if that project doesn't have any outcome, it's maybe more for process improvement, any sort of outcome, you should write about that outcome here. What was the value out of that outcome to the company? Because then you can talk about it more in detail, and when you're sitting on that spot and they are looking at your CV, even if you have forgot to tell them a couple of points, they can still read it on the CV as well. Okay, so you received this outcome, which how this value add came for the company, and that's why it was beneficial doing this project. So I think the key three takeaways is look at your structure, how you're building the structure of the code, keep it clean, use tags. Second, which is use tags, and try to use as many tags as you can, which is really basically describes of what knowledge you have about that field. So if I'm working in the data science field, and I do have learned a lot of different tools, but obviously all those tools are revolving around data science. So I'm going to mention all those tools here. I'm not going to mention any tools that are not revolving around data science, because my main field is data science. Like if I have done courses around content creation, I'm not going to mention them here because my CV is for data scientist roles. So it's kind of like I'm looking at the areas which revolve around data science. So use keywords in the areas you're applying for a job. And then the third, write outcomes. Write outcomes for all the projects, and trust me, it really works, because I have seen it myself. Every interview I've went for, people asking me about, okay, so what was the outcome? Oh, this sounds really good. Can you talk more about this outcome? So this kind of gets their, basically catches their eye, and they are like, okay, all right, so he has done some project which has given a good outcome to the company, and they might be more interested to know that, because a lot of the time if you're working within the same field, they could have similar problems in their organization as well, and by looking at, oh, there's this kind of outcome we can also receive, they might be more happy to actually really understand from your point of view as well what was the outcome out of that, and you can actually talk more about it then. So I think having these three tips for your CV would definitely change a lot for yourself. Now again, you do have to do your own due diligence in terms of checking what way your CV works. I'm just a guy on YouTube talking about my own CV, giving you tips which worked for me and getting me a job that I love. So I hope it works for you as well. So if you're looking for a job that you're working towards, and maybe applying these tips to your CV might help you getting that job. So I hope you enjoyed this kind of content. It was just a quick video giving you a couple of tips in 2021. How can you improve your CV? If you like this video and if you're enjoying the content on my channel, do subscribe to my channel and click on that notification sign, which will give you a notification every time I create a new video. And thanks again for watching this video. I'll see you in the next video. Peace out.